Welcome to the stage of history retold. Stand, fight to your last breath. Let your desire for victory take you beyond your limits.
Barricade is a Decepticon enforcer who served his faction for the longest time, and later on Earth, he took the role of a spy. He has seen his fair share of war and killed many Autobots on Cybertron. His brute strength and ability to come back no matter how many times he has been brought down has made him one of Ness's and the Autobots' most frustrating Decepticons to deal with. Over time, he would also develop somewhat of a rivalry with the Autobot named Bumblebee. The two will engage into several small skirmishes as the war on Earth progressed, with neither being able to get the definitive edge in battle. Barricade can be best described as a survivor. During the war for Cybertron, he participated in many skirmishes against the Autobots, never backing down from a fight. However, it's this confidence that will prove to be his downfall on Earth. Once he was left to fight on his own without the backup from other cons, he struggled against some of the Autobots and their human allies. Their combined strength changed the rules of Cybertronian combat, resulting in many Decepticon defeats, and this forced Barricade to adapt. During the Decepticon war on Earth against the Autobots and their human allies, Barricade took on the role of both a Decepticon warrior and a spy. This allowed him to learn his enemy's strengths and weaknesses. Now Barricade not only knows when the ideal time to fight and to retreat is when facing his enemies, but he has also become one of the most experienced Decepticons on the battlefield of Earth. After the Battle of Chicago, the Decepticon army had been all but defeated, and only a few scattered remnants remain of the once imposing Decepticon movement. Barricade, however, managed to survive and avoid the detection of the humans long enough for him to acquire a new, more powerful body. Now back once again, he follows Megatron and the Decepticons on their quest to revitalize Cybertron and save their species from extinction. Barricade will stop at nothing to see that the Decepticon cause comes out on top, no matter how many Autobots get in his way, or no matter how many times he has to come back from the brink of death to serve once again. Prior to the Great Exodus, Arcee was a scout during the war for Cybertron and served in many battles against the evil Decepticons. However, the war took its toll on Arcee as she lost two of her partners. The first was Tailgate, who died at the hands of Arachnid, whom Arcee would grow to hate and have an intense rivalry with during the war. And the second being Cliffjumper, who managed to help Arcee get over the loss of her first partner, but eventually he will share a similar fate to him by being executed by Air Commander Starscream. Desperate to not let Tailgate's fate befall Cliffjumper, Arcee would attempt to find and rescue Cliffjumper, but when she did, Cliffjumper had been revived as a Terracon, and due to the shock, Arcee let go of Cliffjumper, causing him to die a second time. This will end up haunting Arcee for the rest of her stay on Earth. Reluctant at first, Arcee will get a third partner in the form of a human named Jack Darby, whom she will grow to have a strong bond with, and eventually with his help and the help of Team Prime, will overcome the loss of her previous two partners and open up to her new family. Arcee will participate in many battles against the Decepticons on Earth, eventually getting her revenge on Arachnid, and start with getting even with Starscream. Despite her size, Arcee will become Optimus Prime's most reliable fighter and become one of the toughest and most frustrating Autobots the Decepticons had to face against during the conflict. Eventually, she and Team Prime will beat the Decepticons, killing most of them, apprehending some of them, and forcing the rest to retreat, along with revitalizing Cybertron. Optimus Prime will then give up his life once his spark merged with the Allspark to allow Cybertron to create new life, and Arcee will take temporary command since Ultra Magnus was put out of commission by the Predacons. She will later meet with the Dinobots and the Autobot population that was hiding underground. Later, the joint Autobot groups started making plans to build a new settlement, which Grimlock will call New Spark. Arcee will enjoy the rest of her days in relative peace until the Autobot High Council sought to take control over Cybertron and get rid of Optimus Prime's previous followers. When Optimus Prime returns, Arcee will heed his call once again, ready to follow her leader into battle and expose the Decepticon conspiracy by any means necessary. A fight between Barricade and Arcee is really interesting to say the least. Both characters come from different continuities and their fighting styles and loadout are completely different. In Arcee's universe, for example, the Autobots haven't fought against many cons that use ballistic rounds, while in Barricade's universe, the bots prefer to use ballistic rounds over energy rounds, so both characters are out of their comfort zone in this one, along with the fact that the way the two Transformers operate is vastly different in terms of their fighting style and capabilities due to originating from different universes. Before we start talking about the fight itself, we will first look at the combatants' equipment, tactics, and physical strength, so that way we can come up with an accurate result as to whom will win in a fight. And we will start that by looking at the combatants' equipment and see who has the edge. For the purposes of this episode, we will only be looking at Barricade as he's portrayed by the time of the last night, so none of his previous weapons will be used in this fight. However, past feats and shows of strength will be counted, despite him having a different body back then. So this means no rollerblade wheels and MechTech Blaster from Dark of the Moon. Barricade comes equipped with a hand-mounted machine gun which serves as his go-to long-range weapon. Due to the size of the ammo barrels and Barricade's previous weapon usage, it is implied that it is equal in strength, if not a bit stronger than the Protoform blasters that we saw used in Dark of the Moon. Keep in mind that these things were strong enough to blow up a fully sized human in one shot. He also has a small pistol that can be manually equipped. This is ideal for close to mid-range combat and supposedly does moderate damage, if not weaker than Barricade's machine gun, since he chooses not to make this his go-to weapon. The knuckle dusters are used to enhance Barricade's punches, making him particularly deadly in combat. For humans, a hit from one of those can result in death or severe injury, so the same thing could be applied to giant robots like the Transformers. Up next, we got Barricade's newly acquired Nightstick. This is a non-lethal weapon and is mostly used for defense or to prevent aggression. This is mostly used for crowd control, keep your enemy at a distance. And finally, we have his long distance view. By this I mean his 4 eyes. Barricade was able to spy on the Autobots and TRS confrontation without being detected. This also allowed Barricade to spy on his enemies from a distance, meaning that Barricade is particularly good at hiding and spotting fleeing enemies. Arcee has severely less weapons and add-ons than Barricade, but by no means does this make her any less deadly. We will be looking at her as how she's portrayed in the ending of Transformers Prime and the sequel comic. Arcee comes equipped with twin-arm mounted energy blasters which cannot be knocked off her. It seems to deal moderate damage and can be used to kill vehicle troopers, although with larger / more durable cons it seems to not be as effective. She also has twin-arm mounted blades, which are her go-to weapons when it comes to melee combat. They're strong enough to cut through armor and deal cuts to enemies. A direct hit from these blades can be incredibly deadly. I will also count her vehicle mode as a weapon. In a fight, Arcee constantly relies on her vehicle mode to build up momentum in order to deliver a more powerful hit, since she lacks the physical strength to deal the damage herself. Lastly, Arcee also comes equipped with a small energy blaster which is strong enough to one-shot forward soldiers. Supposedly it's as strong, if not a little stronger than her standard twin-mounted energy blasters. Although whether it's stronger than her previous weapons is kind of unknown since her use of this weapon was very brief in the comic. So, out of the two, who has the edge when it comes to equipment? Barricade has more variety than Arcee, but I feel like Arcee could use her weapons more effectively. In this case, it is quality versus quantity. If Arcee were to get hit by Barricade's ballistic rounds, the result would be something equivalent to the time Optimus Prime fought Skyquake. Severe damage with some recoil. While Barricade has been shot by an energy round before, and while it severely damaged him, it still hurt him quite a bit. Although, because of the size difference between Bumblebee's cannon and Arcee's energy blasters, I'm pretty sure that the damage that Arcee will do with her energy blasters should be lesser than the damage Bumblebee managed to land on Barricade with his plasma cannon during the time of the last night. When it comes to their close quarter weapons, both combatants have deadly weapons, but one hit from Barricade's knuckle dusters could really do critical damage to Arcee due to her small size. Keep in mind that Barricade is way taller than Arcee, because the Bayformers are actually pretty tall compared to their prime counterparts. While I strongly feel that in long range and close range combat, Arcee would be able to use her weapons more effectively, Barricade just has the stronger weapon, and taking damage from them could really injure Arcee, while the strongest weapon Arcee has are her blades and the blasters, although those take several hits to be effective. So as a result, I will give the weapon edge to Barricade, due to his multiple weapons being particularly strong against Arcee, mostly due to Arcee's small size and vulnerability. So Barricade gains the edge in terms of equipment for this fight. Barricade is honestly one of the strongest Decepticons around, believe it or not. First, he's incredibly fast in vehicle mode. He managed to keep up with Bumblebee in the last night and managed to evade Ness and the Autobots multiple times with his speed alone. He's also good at maneuvering in vehicle mode despite having a somewhat large vehicle mode. He can lift cars by using one hand only, and in the comics, he's even able to lift a construction vehicle that is severely larger than him. At one point, he tanked being thrown into buildings and being electrocuted by high voltage. He also survived being knocked into pillars and then falling off the highway and hitting the ground too hard in vehicle mode. This happened in the Transformers 2007 comic adaptation and in the novelization. Not only that, but at one point he survived an explosion in a junkyard while being thrown into the air and later shot by Bumblebee while being covered by gasoline. Mind you, this resulting in a huge explosion, and Barricade still managed to survive and get away from the area. And if that wasn't enough, he survived being blind, shot in the face, and having his leg blown off. Even though he was unable to keep fighting after that, the fact that he survived this is impressive on itself. He has been shown as being able to throw around protoforms that are larger than him with just one arm. He was also depicted to be strong enough to momentarily restrain Bumblebee with a headlock, and at one point even managed to dominate in a fight against Bumblebee and Ratchet at the same time. Yeah, this guy has quite a few impressive showings, doesn't he? Due to her size, Arcee is by default weaker than Barricade, but don't let that fool you, she still packs a punch. She has incredible acrobatic skills, which she uses to confuse her opponents and catch them by surprise. Ridiculously high jumps, maneuverability while being in the air, and blaster evasion makes her one of the fastest and most unpredictable Autobots to fight against. In fact, her blaster evasion is so good that she was able to not get hit by blaster fire once when being surrounded by an army of enemies. Going back to her speed, when she is in her vehicle mode, she was able to outspeed a train going at full speed and outspeed many of her opponents with minimal difficulty. Physically, she's not that strong. At one point, she struggled to adjust the pull rod and kick the train tracks into a different position, a feat that any other bot would have been able to accomplish faster and with minimal difficulty. However, she combines her speed with her hits to create enough momentum to deliver a powerful punch that has even managed to damage bots that are way larger than her. In short, while lacking in the strength department, she more than makes up for it in speed and her integration of it into her fighting style to deliver a harder hit. Well, Barricade obviously has the superior physical strength, and while Arcee is more evasive and requires speed/momentum in order to deliver anything to the caliber of Barricade's hits, I still think that in a fight, Arcee will be able to dodge most if not all Barricade's hits. At the same time, you have to realize that it will take Arcee about, let's say, 50 hits to take down Barricade with her arsenal. Barricade just needs to land one good blow on Arcee to critically injure her. Arcee is just not as durable. One mistake and it can all be over for her. So just because of that, I'm giving the physical edge to Barricade once again. So people think Barricade is a coward when it comes to fighting. This is a massive misconception. In fact, it's quite the opposite. He's too confident. He fought B with no backup. He rushed in to engage B while he was protected by Autobots, a mistake that caused him to be absent from the Mission City fight. He tried to fight Grimlock in a 1v1 and got wrecked. He chased B in just his vehicle mode because he was confident that he could ram the Autobot, which ultimately failed. He can also be taken by surprise quite easily. For example, the Bumblebee ambush in the first fight, Bumblebee's Stealth Force attack in Transformers 5, and his comic fight against Bumblebee are perfect examples of Barricade being easily ambushed. When in a firefight, Barricade employs a cool under fire strategy. He moves around constantly in a small area, barrel rolls and protects his head while under fire. Having learned firsthand from previous experience the importance of protecting his head, he now employs this strategy when engaging into a firefight against other opponents. His accuracy is questionable since he has never been seen actually hitting a target. And no, his Dark of the Moon kill will not be counted because that was point blank range and any idiot can do that. Barricade is no coward, he's a survivor. He knows when to retreat and when to fight back. When in a fight, he will most often prefer to fight hand to hand when given the opportunity to go up close and personal. The first movie fight against Bumblebee, the comic fights against Bumblebee, and his short encounter with Grimlock in The Last Night are perfect examples of his fighting style and his mistakes. While Barricade prefers the brute force approach, Arcee is more tactical when it comes to her fighting style. Arcee has an extremely good accuracy. Even when she's jumping and running, she lands most of her shots, if not all of them. Her perfect shot on Shockwave's eye is her biggest highlight. Like I previously mentioned, she uses the momentum of her vehicle mode and acrobatics to deal devastating damage on enemies larger than her. In battle, she tries to overwhelm her opponents with strong, precise hits and constantly aims for the head, or attacks in a way to stun opponents then proceeds to follow up with several hits. Adding up to her unpredictability, she uses surfaces to boost herself in battle, making herself harder to hit and also dealing more damage to her opponents when the situation calls for it. She prefers close quarters combat, but if the situation calls for it, she keeps a mid-range distance when using her guns and very often aims at the upper part of the body while running around the area, jumping and evading blast of fire. However, she struggles against unorthodox opponents. In her first fight against Arachnids, she struggled quite a bit, and when fighting larger opponents, she needs to be really careful to not get hit by them, otherwise she's in massive trouble. Arcee moves fast and hits hard. She's like a wasp. You can try and kill it, but it moves so fast that it will take a long time to reach that point. Arcee is definitely a very efficient fighter that uses her body and equipment to her fullest extent. So in conclusion, while Barricade is physically superior and his equipment is more effective than Arcee's equipment, Arcee just uses her equipment and physical abilities to her fullest extent and is able to enhance it to her own creative fighting style. Due to the way Barricade fights, he's very predictable. Along with that, him managing to hit Arcee with his fists or guns is considerably less likely than Arcee being able to do those two things first. Barricade will likely be more of a sitting duck when it comes to a firefight, and when it comes to a physical fight, him being able to land a hit on Arcee seems really unlikely. While Arcee will be constantly moving around the area pressuring Barricade, waiting for that opening to land a precise hit on Barricade, enhanced by her vehicle mode momentum. Between Arcee and Barricade, the edge will go to Arcee for having the better accuracy, better fighting style, speed, and evasiveness. Overall, Arcee is just a more efficient fighter, something that Barricade is severely lacking. Before we proceed to who will win in a fight, I want you to go to the comments down below and vote for who you think will win, #Barricade or #Arcee. Keep in mind Barricade has the equipment and physical edge, but Arcee has the tactical edge, which allows her to perform much better in combat than Barricade, despite his advantages. Now, let the fight commence. Let's set up this fight. Let's say it takes place in the city ruins from Transformers The Last Night. For this battle, I will say that the advantage to the winner goes 7 to 10. This means that after thinking about multiple scenarios, if both contenders were to fight 10 times, 7 times out of 10, the advantage will go to the victor. And now, the fight begins. Barricade will arrive to the area in his vehicle mode and remain stationary with the car lights on as he waits for his opponent. Then, from a distance, a motorcycle will be heard roaring closer to the area. Arcee will jump and transform into heroic mode, spotting Barricade. Barricade will respond by transforming, shaking the ground and putting more force into his movements to intimidate Arcee. Arcee will be unimpressed by this. The fight will begin with Barricade making the first move, as he will try to rush at the little Autobot, confident that he can flatten her. Arcee will also charge while equipping her combat blades. Both combatants are about to clash when suddenly Arcee will jump in the air and use her momentum to come crashing down with a powerful hit. Barricade will be momentarily stunned. In his universe, he has never seen an Autobot that could perform such acrobatic feat. However, he will quickly break from his gaze and proceed to use his arms to protect his head. Arcee would come crashing down with her blades, enhanced by momentum, and slash Barricade's arms, causing semi-deep wounds. This hit will also cause Barricade to go from standing to kneeling on the ground by the force. Now Barricade's upper torso will be close to Arcee's height, and she immediately will follow up by delivering several fast and hard punches towards Barricade's face. Barricade will be momentarily stunned when receiving the punishment. Out of pure instinct, Barricade will retaliate by delivering a strong backhand at Arcee, knocking her away from him and landing on the ground. Arcee will take quite a bit of damage from that attack, and she will realize that getting close to him will be dangerous. She will need to keep her distance and wait for the right time to deliver a finishing blow. She will have to go for the head, since her attacks won't be as effective if she goes for any other part of the body. Barricade will then stand up slowly, once again now angry. He will then proceed to aim his hand-mounted machine gun at Arcee and begin to fire. Arcee will very quickly get up and begin running at her full speed, all the while dodging the ballistic rounds. She will get her double hand-mounted energy guns out and begin occasionally jumping to make herself harder to hit, and when landing, she will keep on running to outspeed Barricade's assault, all the while shooting at Barricade with most of her shots landing. Barricade will take moderate damage from this, but overall nothing too critical at the moment. He will be constantly protecting his head with his left arm and employ his cool under fire strategy, while Arcee for the most part will be unharmed. Knowing that this can't go on forever, Arcee will change her strategy. While continuing to go around in circles, Arcee will jump to the sides once again, but this time when she lands on the ground, she will use the landing to boost herself towards Barricade, dashing forward. She will quickly point both of her guns forward just as Barricade is about to direct his machine gun at her. Time will slow down for both combatants as both get closer to one another, but Arcee will end up being just a little quicker, and with her blasters will manage to shoot Barricade's machine gun, causing a small explosion on the left arm of the Decepticon, rendering the weapon useless. Barricade will recoil, his upper torso being pushed to the back and moving to the right angle, while maintaining his legs firmly anchored to the ground. Arcee will take this chance to cut the distance between the two of them, and once she's close enough, she will jump forward. Getting her blades out, she repairs her right arm for a devastating hit intending to blind Barricade. However, Barricade is ready for Arcee's onslaught, while still being affected by the recoil of Arcee's earlier shot. His right hand is out of reach and not close enough for a counterattack, but his left hand is closer. Before Arcee can deliver the decisive blow, Barricade swings his upper body to the left and moves his legs forward, delivering with his left arm a more powerful backhand than before. Arcee, caught by surprise, will be sent flying into one of the buildings, hitting it hard and groaning in pain. Barricade this time will put the pressure on Arcee and charge towards her. He will deliver a strong charged jab at Arcee, but Arcee is smaller and quicker. She will easily dodge the hit by ducking and then dashing to the side. Barricade, fueled by anger, will begin swinging his arms at an attempt to hit Arcee. She dodges all of his hits, knowing that a direct hit could mean the end. During Barricade's attack, he uses both arms to hit Arcee at the same time from both the right and left angle. Arcee blocks the hit by standing her guard. She manages to reduce the damage but is pushed back by the force. Still standing, Arcee breaks her guard and runs back. Barricade follows her while taking his pistol out and proceeding to shoot at her. Arcee runs towards the wall of a 3-story building and jumps on top of it once she's close enough to it. Now with the high ground advantage, Arcee turns around, takes her guns out and begins firing at Barricade's head. Barricade moves back, constantly moving to the sides to avoid blaster fire, and begins firing at her with his pistol, all the while protecting his head with his least damaged arm. Barricade ends up landing a couple of shots at Arcee, causing her some damage, but that is nothing compared to the amount of blaster shots the Barricade is receiving. And now, Arcee's blasters are starting to injure Barricade. Arcee needs to end this. She knows that if the fight drags out, she will lose. Arcee stops shooting at Barricade and quickly moves to the back of the roof, out of Barricade's vision. Barricade, however, knows that she's up to something. Arcee is now positioned at the very edge of the back of the roof, transforms and prepares her engines for max speed. Barricade hears this and prepares for whatever Arcee is about to do. Arcee then speeds to the opposite direction of the roof, and just before falling off the building, she transforms and jumps straight into the air, performing flips in the air to build more momentum. She gets her blades out ready and descends with full force. Barricade, however, is ready this time. He manages to catch Arcee's arms in the air upon her descent, quickly spins and throws her to the side towards the ground. However, Arcee transforms and lands on her tires. Still moving forward, she doubles back and charges at full speed. Transforms mid-distance from Barricade, jumps, and delivers a powerful kick towards Barricade's face. Barricade, barely having enough time to register, is sent flying towards a building. Disoriented, he tries to get up only to be bombarded by blaster fire. Barricade manages to get up while being shot at and aims his gun at Arcee and proceeds to fire. But Arcee runs to the side and begins beating his shots. Barricade manages to get a lock on Arcee and prepares to fire. Arcee, instead of dodging, lets this happen. He fires, and before the bullet can hit, Arcee quickly moves to the side and aims her blaster at Barricade's arm. Her shot lands and Barricade's gun is knocked away. Out of options, Barricade charges at Arcee, but she instead jumps behind him, turns around, and slowly moves back, all the while constantly shooting Barricade with her energy blasters. Barricade quickly barrel rolls towards his gun while being shot at, and grabs the gun before transforming and proceeding to leave the area after being disarmed. Arcee transforms and follows. The fight has now turned into a high-speed chase between the two of them. They both drive through the streets at their top speeds. However, Arcee manages to catch up to Barricade and positions herself to the side of him. Barricade, seeing an opportunity, takes it and tries to ram the side of his vehicle mod onto her. However, Arcee manages to speed up ahead and avoid the attack. She then proceeds to transform and jumps on top of Barricade's car hood and aims her guns at his engine. But on that split second, Barricade transforms and sends her flying forward. With the momentum causing her to hit the ground, Barricade, now transformed, will rush at Arcee and proceed to kick her, sending her flying forward. Arcee will take quite a bit of damage from this, but she will get up once more and get her blades ready and charge at Barricade. Barricade will take out his nightstick and use it to keep Arcee at a distance. Arcee will try to hit Barricade, but the nightstick is a particularly good defensive weapon, allowing Barricade to defend himself from most of Arcee's hits. After being on the defensive for a few minutes, Barricade will attempt to use the nightstick for a vertical hit, but Arcee will duck, and with a jump, she will uppercut Barricade, causing a slash in one of his eyes. Barricade will stagger back, recoiling from the pain. Now that they're both in the middle of a street, Arcee will run towards one of the buildings that is to the right side of Barricade, and then proceed to stick to the wall and use it to boost herself towards Barricade, tackling him to the ground. Now is her chance to deliver the crippling blow. Preparing her arm for the head, she's ready to blind Barricade and secure the victory. But just before this can happen, Barricade will move his head to the side, letting the left section take the hit and going blind. However, his right side still has vision. He quickly moves his head back and with force moves his upper torso up and motions his right arm to grab Arcee's neck with a tight grip. He quickly gets up and holds her at arm's length. Arcee, desperate, switches to her guns and aims at Barricade's face, immediately firing. Barricade takes some of the damage, but he moves to the left side of his face towards Arcee's direction, taking critical damage but keeping his vision. Acting quickly, he delivers a powerful hit to Arcee's stomach with his left hand, sending her flying and causing some of Arcee's armor plating parts to start falling off. Arcee tries to recover from the hit, but on top of all the damage sustained, her situation is critical. She struggles to get up. For the most part, Barricade's body is not severely damaged, with the exception of his face of course. He then begins to slowly walk up to the Autobot, struggling to get up. Arcee, unable to fully get up, takes out her backup energy blaster in a last desperate attempt to shoot at Barricade's now exposed cranium to end it all. But Barricade turns his body to the right and uses his right arm to protect his face from her shots and begins to quickly get close to her, all the while his arm is taking all the damage the closer he gets to her. Once close enough, Barricade swings his left leg and kicks Arcee in the face, causing her weapon to be tossed away. Arcee looks at Barricade, heavily damaged, and tries to get her twin mounted guns out to shoot at the now exposed face of Barricade. But Barricade stomps her chest, causing a lot of pain to Arcee. But just then, Barricade gets his pistol ready and shoots at Arcee's head, killing her. And thus, I declare Barricade the winner of this fight. Overall, Arcee did less damage and had to focus on critically injuring Barricade. That is why she aimed for the head for most of the fight, and heavily relied on her speed and momentum to be able to temporarily stun Barricade and deliver the killing blow. While Barricade had it easier, his attacks can easily deal critical damage to Arcee. His main problem, however, is hitting her since she's so fast and evasive. Arcee landed most hits in the battle, but Barricade's hits were the most decisive ones overall. Also, while Barricade struggled with a smaller opponent, it was his instinct of when to attack and when to retreat that ultimately worked in his favor, since after he switched the location of the battle, he was able to secure the win by using his strength and exposing Arcee's over-aggressive fighting style, which ended up being her downfall. But what do you guys think? Do you believe that through Barricade's instincts and strength, he would have been able to overpower Arcee? Or do you think that through Arcee's speed, evasiveness, and critical / tactical hits, she would have been able to secure the win? Let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to decide which character you would like to see me cover next. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!